Imagine a land painted in vibrant hues. The sun blazes a fiery orange, setting the savanna ablaze with golden light. Emerald green forests teem with life, their canopies a symphony of buzzing insects and chirping birds. Beneath the earth lies a treasure trove, diamonds that shimmer like captured stars, gold that gleams with ancient promise, and oil that holds the potential to fuel nations. This is Africa, a continent pulsating with life and bursting with natural wealth. From the fertile Nile Delta to the mineral-rich mountains of the south, Africa possesses an astonishing abundance of resources. Its soil, nourished by the sun and watered by mighty rivers, has the capacity to feed the world. Its vast plains are home to majestic creatures, a testament to nature's boundless creativity. Deep within its earth lie deposits of precious metals and stones, the lifeblood of modern industry. Africa's potential is undeniable, a beacon of hope for a world grappling with scarcity. Yet this image of abundance exists alongside a contrasting reality. Despite its wealth of resources, Africa grapples with poverty, disease, and underdevelopment. Millions struggle to afford basic necessities, their lives overshadowed by hunger and lack of opportunity. This stark contrast, this paradox of plenty amidst hardship, is a story etched in history, a legacy of exploitation that has left deep scars on the continent's soul. To understand this incongruity, we must journey back in time, to an era when the seeds of disparity were sown. We must confront the ghosts of colonialism that continue to haunt Africa's present, casting a long shadow over its future.
The year is 1482. Portuguese caravels, their sails billowing in the wind, arrive on the shores of West Africa. This encounter, seemingly innocuous, marked the beginning of a long and brutal chapter in Africa's history. Driven by avarice and a sense of entitlement, European powers embarked on a mission to conquer and control. The continent, with its vast resources and perceived vulnerability, became a prime target for colonial ambitions. What began as trading posts soon morphed into full-blown colonies. European nations carved up Africa amongst themselves, drawing borders with little regard for existing tribal boundaries or cultural identities. The Berlin Conference of 1884, etched in infamy, formalized this division, solidifying Europe's dominion over the continent. Africa's fate was sealed, its destiny dictated by foreign powers, who saw the continent as nothing more than a source of wealth to be plundered.
Colonialism's impact was devastating and far-reaching. Traditional systems of governance were dismantled and replaced with European structures designed to maintain control. Local economies were reoriented to serve the needs of the colonizers, forcing Africans to cultivate cash crops like cotton and rubber instead of food for their own communities. Education, when provided, was geared towards creating a subservient class, denying Africans the tools needed to control their own destinies. This systematic exploitation stripped Africa of its resources and dignity. It created a cycle of dependency that persisted long after the flags of colonialism were lowered. The wounds of the past continue to bleed into the present, shaping the challenges that Africa faces today.
The Berlin Conference of 1884 stands as a chilling testament to the audacity of colonialism. In a grand display of geopolitical maneuvering, European powers, with no African representation, gathered to carve up the continent like a birthday cake. With maps spread out before them, they drew lines that would have far-reaching consequences, shaping the destinies of millions. The arbitrary nature of these borders, drawn with little understanding or respect for existing ethnic and cultural realities, sowed the seeds of future conflict.
Communities that had coexisted peacefully for generations were suddenly pitted against each other, divided by lines drawn in distant European capitals. This legacy of division continues to plague Africa today, fueling ethnic tensions and hindering national unity. The conference also legitimized the notion of European superiority, reinforcing the belief that Africa was incapable of governing itself. This paternalistic attitude, deeply ingrained in colonial thought, undermined African agency and stifled the development of strong, independent institutions. It created a power vacuum that was often filled by corrupt dictators, further exacerbating the continent's woes. The Berlin Conference was a turning point in African history, marking the formalization of colonial rule and setting the stage for decades of exploitation and oppression. Its legacy continues to cast a long shadow over the continent, a stark reminder of the human cost of greed and imperial ambition. Section 4. the enduring grip of exploitation. While the era of overt colonialism may be over, the specter of exploitation continues to haunt Africa. Multinational corporations, often with the tacit support of their home governments, have stepped into the void left by the old colonial powers. Driven by profit motives, they operate with impunity, extracting Africa's resources while leaving little behind for the communities they impact.
These corporations, armed with sophisticated legal teams and vast financial resources, often strike deals with corrupt officials, perpetuating a cycle of bribery and bad governance. They exploit weak labor laws and lax environmental regulations, maximizing profits at the expense of human rights and environmental sustainability.
The result is a familiar tale of exploitation: lands stripped bare, communities displaced, and profits siphoned off to distant shores. This neo-colonial relationship perpetuates Africa's economic dependence, hindering the development of local industries and stifling innovation. It reinforces the global power imbalance, with Africa relegated to the role of a raw material provider rather than an equal partner in global trade. Breaking free from this cycle of exploitation requires a fundamental shift in power dynamics, a recognition that Africa's resources belong to its people and should be used for their benefit. Section 5. Buried treasure, empty plates, the DRC's cobalt conundrum. The Democratic Republic of Congo, a nation blessed with breathtaking landscapes and an abundance of natural resources, stands as a stark example of the paradox of plenty amidst poverty. Beneath its soil lies a treasure trove of minerals, including cobalt, a key component in the lithium-ion batteries that power our smartphones, laptops, and electric vehicles.
The DRC is estimated to hold over 70% of the world's cobalt reserves, making it a critical player in the global technology supply chain. Yet, despite this mineral wealth, the DRC remains one of the poorest countries in the world. Millions of its citizens lack access to basic necessities like clean water, healthcare, and education. Children, their bellies distended from hunger, toil in dangerous artisanal mines, their small hands extracting cobalt that will power the digital devices of the developed world.
The irony is as tragic as it is undeniable. A nation sitting on a gold mine, yet unable to feed its own people. This disparity is a direct result of the DRC's long and troubled history, marked by colonialism, conflict, and corruption. Foreign companies eager to secure access to the DRC's cobalt have exploited the country's instability, striking deals with warlords and corrupt officials. The profits from cobalt mining rarely trickle down to the Congolese people, instead lining the pockets of a select few while the majority continue to languish in abject poverty.
The DRC's story is a cautionary tale, a reminder that the presence of natural resources alone does not guarantee prosperity. It underscores the need for responsible resource management, ethical business practices, and a commitment to ensuring that the benefits of resource extraction reach the communities most impacted.
Section 6. A new era of engagement, China and Africa. In recent decades, a new player has emerged on the African continent, China. With its rapidly growing economy and insatiable appetite for resources, China has become a major investor in Africa, pouring billions of dollars into infrastructure projects, mining operations, and other ventures. This surge in Chinese engagement has been met with a mix of hope and apprehension, as African nations grapple with the implications of this new partnership. Proponents of China's involvement point to the much-needed infrastructure development that China has brought to the continent. Roads, railways, and ports, long neglected by Western donors, are being built at a rapid pace, facilitating trade and connecting communities. Chinese investment has also created jobs and stimulated economic growth in some sectors. However, critics raise concerns about China's motives and the long-term impact of its engagement. They argue that China's interest in Africa is primarily extractive, focused on securing access to resources to fuel its own economic engine. They point to the lack of transparency in many Chinese deals, the influx of Chinese labor at the expense of local workers, and the environmental degradation often associated with Chinese projects. China's role in Africa is complex and multifaceted, defying easy categorization. It presents both opportunities and challenges, requiring African nations to navigate this new relationship with caution, ensuring that their own interests and